It's been the constant drumbeat for the Democrats since November 9th, 2016. Their promise to retake the House and Senate in the 2018 midterms. But with a handful of successes in the rearview mirror, the blue wave might already be breaking and receding back into the ocean. Because as it turns out, just being anti-everything Trump says and does may not win elections. Trump's approval rating is rising, hitting 42% in last week's Gallup poll, its highest mark in a year. And with possible foreign policy wins, high turnout in Republican primaries, and the economy getting really high marks from 66% of the public, multiple reports indicate at least some Democrats are starting to worry. We'll find out if these two are. Joined by Jesse Mermell, Waring, former communications director for Governor Deval Patrick, and a 2016 Hillary Clinton supporter. Good to see you.
Hi, Jim.
Phil Johnston is the former head of the state's Democratic Party and a 2016 Bernie Sanders supporter. Phil, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, Jim.
It seems to me the message of the primary message of the Democrats is we're not Donald Trump. Is that enough in 2018?
It's not enough in any year. It is never enough to just be against something. Every party, don't care which one you are, needs to be for something. That is perhaps especially true this year because...
Why?
Well, I think conventional wisdom was that we didn't do a great job of articulating what we were for in 2016. And
what are you for?
I can tell you that I'm for, and the Democratic...
No, not you. What are the Democrats?
Well, and if I was going to finish my sentence, was what I'm for and what, the Democrats that I talk to the most are for are creating growth and opportunity for everybody. Investing in the things that lift everyone up because we believe that's the foundation of sustainable economic growth for the country.
And but you worked for Bill Clinton, even though you didn't support his wife when she was running. I'm sure they loved that, Phil.
Well, thank God they don't get upset about that.
Isn't the economy stupid? Because if it is, that 66% number I saw a couple of minutes mentioned a minute ago, 3.9% unemployment, lowest I think in 18 years. They're generally positive feelings, not just amongst Republicans, for the economy. Isn't the economy stupid?
It is the economy, and it usually is. I think that's North Korea is added on top of that, and
a potential plus for Donald Trump.
A potential plus for him. So I think Jesse's right. I think that we have to worry about every vote, as one has to do in any election. And I think in 2016, the Clinton campaign did not worry about every vote, and they telegraphed that was going to be a victory. And I think a lot of people went out and just said, "Well, she's going to win anyway, so I'm going to just..."
But both of you are saying, just one second, Jesse, and then we'll get to your thought. Both of you are saying, it's not enough to be just anti-Trump. Do you really believe that, or do you think that's just what you have to say to sound the right note for the public?
Oh, I absolutely believe that. I think we all made a lot of assumptions, we meaning people who work in politics and the chattering classes and those of us who think we know what we talk about and show up on television and spout things. We made a lot of assumptions about what was going to happen in 2016, and most of us were dead wrong. And so anyone who assumes that we can just be anti-Trump and that will be enough because of the vile things that he sometimes stands for and says, I think could be sadly mistaken in the fall. The one thing I wanted to say to Phil's point, you can say that it's the economy, stupid, but you cannot apply that with broad brushstrokes.
What do you mean?
Because the economy for the seaport and the economy for Lawrence are two totally different things. The economy for African Americans and the economy for most middle class and upper middle class white folks, two totally different things. And so while numbers may be booming overall, a lot of folks are being left behind, and we're foolish if we think that those boom times mean anything to the folks who aren't feeling them.
Well, let's see if you guys think this is the message. A year, not even a year after Donald Trump won, Democrats gathered together to put together, I assume, something very much like what you're talking about. Here's a Senate Democratic ad for what they called a better deal in July of last year. Here it is.
Whether you work in a factory, on a farm, or on your phone, you deserve a better deal.
A better deal.
American families deserve a better deal.
We shouldn't leave a single person behind. That's what Better Deal's all about.
Oh, that did it for me, I'll tell you. So if I stopped 100 Democrats, not forget 100 members of the general public, and said, a better deal is what we need, because we got a rotten deal in November 16, Democrats say, could any one of the 100 have any clue what that's supposed to mean?
I think it's there's a consensus that was a disaster, and I think people who are running for office have to run their own campaigns and have their own messages. That's going to be true in 2018. Will be true in 2020 as well.
Well, Jesse's obviously right. There's got to be separate messages.
But I just want to say the biggest problem I think we have is to get through the noise that's on cable TV in particular. It's like 24/7 Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump.
But almost all negative, by the way.
Yeah, but that happened in 2016, and we saw what happened. So I think we need to figure out a way. We Democrats need to figure out a way to break through that noise machine.
But even though, Jesse, I assume most people in politics would agree with you, you've got to have targeted messages. There's got to be a common set of themes. 2 days ago, I heard a bunch of Democrats saying net neutrality is the key in November. I know their Senate's forcing a vote. And while I hope net neutrality matters to everybody, to me, that's not going to win an election. Theoretically, the population cares about clean water and clean air and those sort of things. Theoretically, they care about young children brought here by their parents illegally, but unbeknownst to the kids. But are any of those winners come November?
Well, first of all, Jesse's obviously right is the best thing I've ever heard you say on this show. You're talking about messages. I also want to talk about messengers. That Senate ad you just showed 4 white people talking about what America wants. You've got 2 white people sitting here talking. People of color, women of color, are the key to success in the Democratic Party. We have to come up with, yes, messages that speak to them and others, but we have to come up with messengers. That's about making sure that people of color are leading, speaking for the Democratic Party, especially women of color. I think we have to go beyond paying lip service to that and actually, walk the walk instead of just talking the talk.
Well, let's talk about walking the walk. We've been here 6 minutes. I still don't know. What's the economic thing that the Democrats are going to offer? Again, targeted, yes, but there's got to be a big picture. That's what you're going to see on television. What are the 1 or 2 things that are going to be at the center that every voter says, now we know what they stand?
I think we go after the tax cut, and I understand that that's negative in certain respects, but I think we got to keep pointing out who benefited from that, and I think as we get into next year and into 2020, it's going to be clearer and clearer as people can't have those property tax deductions as they used to have. That's a big thing for the middle class. People are working now. The unemployment rate is relatively low. Wages are not rising, as Jesse pointed out, and so a lot of people do feel very left behind.
So what's the prescription?
Well, I like the $15 minimum wage, which Bernie Sanders pushed. I like, universal health care. I like Medicare for all. And, this effort to take health insurance away from millions of people. We need to keep reminding people that that's what this administration and the Republicans have been trying to do, and also remind people that a lot of us are for Medicare for all.
So is that the ticket? Medicare for all, health care for all, $15 minimum wage across the country? Is that something people can connect to?
I think they connect to it under the umbrella of economic opportunity for everybody. And then depending on who you're talking to, you talk about health care, you talk about raising the minimum wage, you talk about paid family leave, and you talk about it in a way that makes sense to people, that isn't talking down to people, and that feels like you genuinely understand where they're coming from. Sincerity, authenticity have to be the name of the game. I think it's one umbrella and then targeted messages depending on who you're talking to and who that right messenger is.
One last thing is I asked you both a couple of minutes ago if you were really meant that being anti-Trump wasn't enough, and you both said no, yes, you really believe that. Do you think the leaders of your party really believe that? Because I'll tell you, it's May now. November is not that far away. I cover this for a living. I can't list 3 or 4 things that across the board Democrats are selling to the American people. Is it possible they think they can ride an anti-Trump wave to victory?
I sincerely hope that they don't. I agree that I have yet to see from the sort of powers that be of the Democratic Party a clearly articulated message. I would also say that media, I don't mean you, but media in general, doesn't like to cover that message, right? They like to cover the fight, the anti-Trump stuff, the Trump is wrong, the Democrats versus Republicans. And so, we saw this a lot in 2016, that Hillary, while flawed, did spend a lot of time talking about these things, and it didn't get covered because people wanted to talk about Trump. It was sexier and it was flashier. So I think we have to make sure that we create space for the Democrats to state what they stand for.
15 seconds. Do you think they have a message, or they think Trump, anti-Trump?
I think they have a
does?
message, but it hasn't broken through.
Okay.
And that's what I was saying earlier. I think that, look, CNN and MSNBC, it's, as you said, it's 24/7 negative, negative, negative on Trump. But we can't break through that wall of noise because because of the Trump. The fact is the ratings are going through the roof for some odd reason. People like to the fight.
We're different. We're doing a 6-hour special on Stormy Daniels tomorrow night. Nice to see you, Jesse. Thanks so much.
Good to see you,
Pleasure.
Jim.
Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.